Welcome back to the Sales Mastery Series. Our next episode, this is number 4, and it's Sell the Workflow, Not Just the Printer. This episode is sponsored by Canon Image Prograph and National Azon, and they're proud sponsors of our wide format sales training series. In the last episode, we talked about how to spot wide format opportunities. Today, we're going to take the next step. And this is where deals are won and lost. Sell the workflow, not just the printer. And I'm going to talk about why this matters. If you walk into an account and you ask them, hey, can you show me what type of wide format printer you have? Well, pretty much you've already lost. They don't want to bother with that because what you've entered into already is a price conversation. But if you walk in and you say, can you walk me through how your plans move through your business? Now, that's a great question because now it's not a price conversation, but it's more of a consultative situation. And now you're in a workflow conversation. And the workflow is where the value lies, right? So some of you may ask, what's a workflow? Workflow is pretty simple. It's how a document moves from start to the finish line, right? In AEC, Architects, Engineers, and Constructions, that usually looks like create, print, markup, scan, share, and store. Every step has time, cost, and friction with the client. Your job is to reduce that friction, right? So you can start off with discovery and asking questions about their existing workflow. And they can start with, how do your plans come in? Paper-based, digital? How do you print them? Right? What type of printer? So how do you scan them? Do they go to a folder? Do they go to an email? Do they go to a thumb drive? But then the next question is, once scanned, where do the scans go from there? Do they go to the cloud? Do they go to MS OneDrive, Dropbox, a folder on the server? What happens after markups, right? What happens if you get an as-built in? How do you send revisions out? And at that time, when you're done asking those questions, you let them explain. You don't interrupt. You don't try to pitch them on something else. You just be quiet and you listen and you take notes, right? And you definitely want to take those paper-based notes because it's much easier to fall back to those points sometime in the future, right? Every one of those answers could reveal a problem. And here's what you're listening for. We email PDFs back and forth. We scan to shared drives manually. Yeah, you know what? We do lose track of revisions. We also print, do a markup, and then scan again. And it takes too long to get updates out with that type of process. So that's the friction in the workflow, right? And that's your opportunity to try and alleviate or reduce that friction with your workflow. So you ask them, is there pain in the process for the scanning wide formats? And of course, based on the questions that you asked, they're gonna go back and they're gonna say, either we have no pain or yes, we do have pain. Mostly everybody has pain in that scanning process. So what you need to do is you need to connect the Canon wide format to their current workflow. So once you have the pain points, you can introduce the solution, but not as a printer, but part of the process. So you can use, with the Canon Image Prograph MFPs, you can scan directly to email, cloud folders, or projects. There's no rescanning, there's no delays. You can print, scan, and distribute. And if you need to do a markup, you can open up whatever markup software you're using, do those markups, and then distribute. So at this point in time, you're not selling hardware, you're improving how they do the workflow. So this can be something easily explained as, when clients scan documents, whether they scan it to an existing folder or they scan it to, they send it to their email address. Once it goes to the folder, once it goes to the inbound email, they have to open that file, right? They then have to review that file, and they have to name that file. They have to check that file just to make sure everything's there. And then they have to distribute that file to the appropriate location where those documents are going to be saved. That's a process. There's friction, right? When you mention that, okay, well, now we can scan directly to cloud folders like Dropbox, OneDrive, maybe Drop, maybe there could be a different type of cloud that they're using. You can then cut down a process in that scanning for them. So when we get back to it, now you're not selling the hardware, you're improving how they work. You're going to save them time. In the AEC business, time is money, especially with architects and especially with engineers. Time saved results into real hard dollars, right? Not soft costs, real hard dollars. If you can save them 4 or 5 hours per month, overhead is like $100 an hour. All of a sudden, that's $500 saved. Then you can also mention to the client, okay, we're going to save you 5 hours for the next year. That's 60 hours a year. You can put the dollar amount on that, but better yet, you can ask the client, well, with that 60 hours saved, would you be able to get another job in this year? Would you be able to get 2 more jobs in this year? And if so, how is that going to affect your bottom line with revenue and then also profit? It's great to remember that point and stick to that point. So all of this, when we're talking about workflow, it separates you from your competitors, because a lot of the competitors aren't digging deep. They're basically, okay, I want to sell the machine. Here's the price for the machine. They read off the brochure. This is what it does. And they don't ask any additional questions. You're going to ask those additional questions. You're going to find that pain point. You're going to bring in scan the cloud workflows. You're going to integrate with platforms like Google Drive, SharePoint, project folders, Dropbox, Box. You might even have the opportunity to move forward with maybe document management tools like DocuWare or Square9, right? So that conversation shifts focus from how much is the printer to how do we improve our entire document process. So I actually went back a step earlier, because I wanted to talk a little bit about return on investment, and that return on investment is exactly what I spoke about. If you can save somebody 5 hours each month, that turns into 60 hours a year. What's the cost on that? How much is the savings? And when you're speaking to your C-level exec, how does that affect you? How does that affect your revenue? How does that affect your profit, right? With that conversation, you're not just saving print costs, you're saving labor, time, and delays. So in your mind, stop saying to yourself, I sell wide format printers. Tell clients that you walk into, I help AEC firms move faster and more efficiently, which is a completely different value. And that's how you win the deals. Here's the simple way to position it that I use when I walk in. Most firms, so it'll go something like this. Most firms we work with aren't changing printers. They're improving how their plans move through the business. Then you ask, let them tell you. And as soon as they start telling you, that's where you win. So if you're thinking about next week, maybe some action items to do next week, just ask one client that you cold call to walk you through their workflow for the wide format documents. Jot down each step. If there's a bottleneck, identify the bottleneck, which in most cases there probably will be. Once you identify the bottleneck, then you can move for an appointment, whether it's a demonstration, whether it's a virtual demonstration, right? And in many cases today, the demo still is a very powerful tool you have. Better than selling off of a brochure, better than comparing proposals. Try and win the battle to get the appointment for them either to come into your shop for a demonstration or offer them a virtual demonstration and show them how the Canon workflow can simplify their process. That's it. One workflow, one improvement equals one deal. So the future of wide format isn't just hardware. It's workflow, integration, and efficiency. With Canon Image ProGraph and National ASON support, you have everything you need to deliver complete solutions, not just devices. This is Art Post. This has been our 4th episode of Wide Format Sales Mastery Series. Join me next time for Winning Against the Toner Guys. And we're going to talk about Cost Talk Made Easy. Until then, focus on the process, not the product. Get out there and cold call. And special thanks to Canon Image ProGraph and National ASON. And we'll see you next time.